There's a precarious balance in Formula One which all teams and drivers face. It's a balance between the comforts of what you know and the risks necessary to progress, and it's one that many teams in recent months have had to consider, perhaps more so than ever before. Complacency in what you know can render you hamstrung from moving forward and achieving the optimum potential that you have. But moving too rashly to replace a good thing can blow up in your face and make you seem an absolute fool. This brings us on to the subject of today, RB, a team that is in a bit of a no man's land at the moment, down in 6th place in the Constructors and without a substantial threat from behind nor the means of punching up and taking on Aston Martin for 5th. They're currently at a bit of a crossroads and experiencing an identity crisis, with yearly name changes and a complete lack of consistency in regards to their approach to the sport. One year they're the junior team, the next an individual entity that rejects their parent company's help only to be told what to do like a scorned child a moment later. It's in this identity crisis that their approach to drivers seems to have gotten somewhat confused, as they currently house a Honda factory driver while also working as a driver rehab clinic for one of their veterans on the other side of the garage. It seems unthinkable that just a few years ago the likes of Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly, Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen were blooding themselves into the sport at the very same team that now seems to be at a loss to who they are. So that begs the question, which path will RB choose to go down and will they actually stick to it? Want to know if RB are going to stick or twist? Daniel Ricciardo is clearly the man in danger at the moment, but was Canada enough to put their minds at ease? And stick around, because it's not just the Aussie who is being gambled on here, as the team could risk losing their best option for the future due to being poached. The start of the Canadian Grand Prix weekend feels like a lifetime ago now, and it feels like we've seen Daniel Ricciardo go through an entire character arc in that time. It all started with Jacques Villeneuve giving a rather scathing verdict on Daniel Ricciardo's career, basically saying it's over, never really got started, and he's confused as to why it's even continuing. Having qualified well and secured a decent points haul, beating his teammate at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, it seemed like Ricciardo did the best he could do to silence his critics. Unsurprisingly for those who know Jacques Villeneuve, however, he didn't roll back his initial claims and decided to double down, saying, "Daniel Ricciardo is a hot potato. It's always risky to criticize him because he's extremely protected by his team and the media and by fans on social media. It's a burnt subject. Even if you say something constructive, you'll get burnt one way or another, and you'll have a lot of people who get angry. He kept his nose clean, he brought home some points, but that means very little in the context of the season, and he needs to do more than that. It's that simple. The scoreboard doesn't lie, and it's like that for every driver. Obviously I got under his skin because it made him go faster, and even Christian Horner thought that it gave him a bit of a boost, and maybe he needed that. At least he got a lot of media mileage out of this." He'd also go on to say that his inability to take criticism without taking it incredibly personally smacked of unprofessionalism. Now, given that Villeneuve's comments are often inflammatory to say the least, it's understandable that Ricciardo was a bit peeved to say the least. However, we think this follow-up by Villeneuve bears a far more interesting line of thinking. Is the amount of protection afforded to Ricciardo detrimental to the driver, the team, and the others that could be there in that RB seat? It's not just Villeneuve that has followed this line of thinking, as the far less controversial Andrew Benson has also questioned just how far the protection that Christian Horner is currently affording Daniel will go. The first thing that Benson says already strikes up a pretty good argument as to why Ricciardo should be feeling anything but safe in his current spot. Ricciardo is 7-2 down on Tsunoda in Grand Prix qualifying sessions over this year and slightly slower on average. And the problem with that is Red Bull don't rate the Japanese driver as a top-line driver. While RB have recently extended Tsunoda's contract up until the point of Honda's departure from the team, it's well known that they aren't exactly enthused about his potential in regards to being at the top of the sport. So if Ricciardo is unable to beat a teammate that he was meant to beat upon joining the team, something he would have to have done in order to usurp Sergio Perez from his seat at Red Bull, which is now something which is definitely not happening, then just how long will he be given to demonstrate that he is the man that can, well, do what exactly? The top team is now closed off. The seat that has often been reserved to condition the next generation of drivers is currently being taken up by someone that likely won't progress all that much more if he can't consistently beat a looked down upon teammate. So just what is Ricciardo doing other than clinging on and providing a cash boost via sponsors? Well, according to him, the weekend in Canada has given him the extra drive to move forward in his rehabilitation within the RB team, as he said. I've just got to keep it rolling. That little energy, probably a little bit of a chip on my shoulder I brought into the weekend, I've got to make sure that that stays there, and it's just that level of intensity. I don't know if it's the need to be a bit angry or just to get my testosterone up, but I think it helps me. There is certainly some hope that this is a turning point. Obviously, I've got to repeat it and back it up to prove it. But I'm definitely happy with some things that I've acknowledged since Monaco, and it's no coincidence that this weekend went a bit smoother. It's just making sure that we keep tapping into it and that I'm holding myself accountable, not getting too relaxed and happy-go-lucky, making sure I keep that edge about me. But this is where we continue to be at a loss in regards to what the long-term aims of the entire Red Bull family actually are. First of all, you lock in a lineup of Red Bull that seems uninspired at best and at worst, actively poses a risk to the Constructors' Championship for the next 2 seasons. Then with the second team, you extend the contract of a driver for seemingly the continuation of a positive relationship with Honda, and while we rate Yuki as a good driver, he certainly isn't part of the long-term plans at Red Bull, while also contemplating keeping a driver who needs to actively be pushed into getting his drive back, rather than just having that hunger there in him. Meanwhile, there is Liam Lawson, a guy who impressed massively in his 5-race stint last season and has consistently been spoken of in high regards by all who have worked with him, from the junior formulas to the Super GT. Not only that, Lawson stated last year that he had basically been promised a seat by Marco, and that is what convinced him to close the door on people who came to him for his services this season, depriving the Kiwi of a year in the sport already. Surely if you're Liam Lawson, you have to be looking at all of this and thinking, what the hell do I have to do to get in a car? And the answer at this point seems to be pretty simple and something he is entirely prepared to do. In order to drive, Lawson may well have to leave Red Bull behind, especially if the promises made to him are broken in favor of Christian's relationship with Ricciardo. It seems that Lawson is well aware of what he may have to do and has been for some time, but the issue now is, unlike when he was tied down to the team with promises of a future drive by Darth Marco, there may not be teams looking for his services, and the ship may have thoroughly sailed for the time being. Upon being asked about his future and where it could lie by TalkSport, Lawson had this to say: "If I had the answer to that, then I'd probably be in a car right now, so I have no idea. Obviously, everything's changing at the moment. There's a lot of drivers moving around, so at the moment I don't really know where I slot into that, and if I do at all, but it's something that I'm working towards every single day at the moment." However, he remains realistic that he may have to go elsewhere to fulfill his dream of a full-time drive in Formula 1. Honestly, at the end of the day, obviously I would love to be with Red Bull in Formula 1. They're the strongest team at the moment, and I've been with them now for this is my 6th year with Red Bull. So if I could choose, I would love to be with Red Bull. But obviously, if there's no seat there, my goal is Formula 1, so that could be anywhere. Red Bull and consequently RB are risking 2 things if they decide to keep Lawson on the bench, and I'd argue one is far worse than the other. One is that they lose the driver to a team that is actually willing to let an exciting and hungry youngster with a lot of potential behind the wheel, or they risk keeping him on the shelf to gather dust while pouring endless resources into Project Ricciardo when they could be putting that towards an exciting prospect for the future. It may well render Lawson's ceiling far lower than it otherwise would be if they just bit the bullet and got on with it. But that's just our opinion. Be sure to let us know yours in the comments below. Should RB just get on with promoting Lawson, or do you think there's a reason beyond the sponsors for keeping Ricciardo? Let us know your thoughts, and thank you for watching.